Larry liked it. We finished the episode. We did the next couple of episodes using that music. Then the first episode aired. We forgot to ask anybody else. And when other people, Network, Castle Rock, heard this on the air and were surprised by it, it was not a favorable reaction, and we went back and fixed the next two episodes. So there's only one episode that actually has that music element in it that slipped through because we forgot to ask permission.
One of the things that's so interesting about the origins of Seinfeld is the interests that we all brought to the show that sort of influenced the style and the tone of the show. To do that kind of a monologue in a sitcom format.
Took this book out in 1971.
Yes, and I returned it in 1971.
Yeah, 71. That was my first year on the job. Bad year for libraries. Bad year for America. Hippies burning library cards. Abby Hoffman telling everybody to steal books. I don't judge a man by the length of his hair or the kind of music he listens to. Rock was never my bag. But you put on a pair of shoes when you walk into the New York Public Library, fella.
Look, Mr. Bookman.
The Library Cop began with the idea of a book that's long overdue and a library cop coming out, you know, an obsessed cop looking for that book, you know. And then we had the good fortune of having Philip Baker Hall play the role, and he delivered that monologue. I mean, it's like one of my favorite moments that I've ever worked on was hearing him say those words.
I remember when the librarian was a much older woman. Kindly, discreet, unattractive. We didn't know anything about her private life. We didn't want to know anything about her private life. She didn't have a private life. What are you thinking about that? Think about this. The library closes at 5 o'clock, no exceptions. This is your final warning. Got that? Cupid down?
The pen was really fun because it gave us a chance to talk about these crazy communities that our parents both lived in down in Florida with those insane, you know, names of vistas and you know, Aquas and Del Bocas and all of that stuff.
There's a certain pettiness that goes on there that just had to be broadcast.
And of course, George Shapiro's pen.
We were in the office, you know, a writing session or something, and Larry didn't have a pen. I said, "Here's a pen. This is an astronaut pen." And I say, "Wow, it's beautiful." I said, "You can write upside down." I said, "Really?" I said, "Well, here, take the pen." And I said, "No, I can't take it. Take the pen. I'll get another pen."
And Larry didn't want to take it, and then he forced him to take it, and that was where that came from. And to this day, and I didn't know you were going to ask this question, I still have it.
It writes upside down. They use this in space.
Oh, wow, that's the astronaut pen.
Yeah.
I heard about that. Where did you get it?
Oh, it was a gift.
Because a lot of times I write in bed, and I have to turn and lean on my elbow to make the pen work.
Take the pen.
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
I couldn't.
Come on, take the pen.
I can't take
Do
it.
me a
Classic.
No, I'm not
Take the
comfortable.
pen.
I cannot take it.
Take the pen.
Are you
man.
sure?
I'm positive. Take the pen.
It was very tough to get Sandy Barron in the room. He was very mercurial. He wasn't exactly easy to reach, and it was only because all the planets were aligned properly that he happened to be at home when his agents called him, and he managed to get him down to himself down to the casting session.
Listen, do you think I take everything everybody offers me? You offered me sponge cake yesterday. Did I take it? You said you didn't want it. Of course I wanted it. I love sponge cake.
He was funny in that show. I mean, he played that part so well.
Take the pen. Take the pen. Take the pen.
I was delighted to be having, you know, material like the pen, which was a huge show for me and the most thrilling.
Stella! Stella!
back hurts.
The great thing about all of that stuff, like in the pen, was that it wasn't gender oriented at all. Even though there was a lot of course, conversations about gender in the show, but that, I mean, who would have thought to give that to a girl to get high on muscle relaxants and then scream Stella and then Jerry with his eyes like this? My God, that show was funny. That show was funny.
Both Jason Alexander and Michael Richards were not in that episode. The pen was the first time that the ego of Jason is related to Seinfeld reared its little head. And it wasn't a major thing, but it had already happened to Michael. Michael had sat out for an episode, and here he was sitting out another one.
Yeah, actually, I felt kind of bad about the fact that Jason and Michael were not in that episode. I felt sort of guilty.
I went to Larry when we came back to do the following episode, and I said, I got to talk to you about what happened last week. You wrote me out of the show. I said, I only want to be here if I'm indispensable. I hadn't counted on this career. I mean, it was not necessarily my fantasy. I grew up in my bathroom accepting the Tony, not the Emmy or the Oscar.
I remember Jason told me, I wonder if this is true, I wonder if he'll tell you this, but he told me that he had gone up to Jerry and said, don't do that again. And I'm sure he did do that.
And I went to Larry and I said, if you do it again, do it permanently. If you don't need me to be here for every damn episode of Seinfeld that you write, then I don't need to be here. And he went, oh, come on. And I went, Larry, I know it doesn't make sense. I get that. But that's my feeling. I don't want to ever look at another episode of Seinfeld that George, I don't care what the participation, and I don't care if it's a line. I know you won't let it be anything that's, garbage. But I've got to feel that you can't do this without my character and my work being a part of it, because if I do, I just don't want to be part of it. And he never did again. I don't know if it's because of that conversation.
The Pen is my favorite Seinfeld episode. I have parents who lived in those communities in Florida, and when I saw what Jerry and Larry, who also of course had parents living in those communities, had captured about that world down there, and to devote a whole half hour to that world, I just loved it. I recognized each and every one of those types that they caught, and it just reminded me of my late parents, and it speaks to me every time I see the episode.
To this day, I still can't get enough accolades from the people who live down there talking about that show. Oh, that Pen episode, every time I'm down. The pen, oh, so funny,
There is no reason my folks should have actually enjoyed the show we began with, but it got right into their bones, and despite everything I said about the Pen, it was the beginning of, that was the first episode they really sat up and took notice, because it was in their community. They live in Boca, and suddenly here was a thing about condo life in Boca, and they were getting it right.
What was my favorite episode? The Pen.
The pony remark came just from you have a lot of antisocial thoughts during the day. I don't know if you do, but I have a lot of antisocial thoughts throughout the day, and I remember being at a dinner, and somehow that idea about saying that thing about the pony to this old woman came into my head. I don't remember exactly how.
I hate anyone that ever had a pony when they were growing up.
I had a pony.
Well, I didn't really mean a pony per se.
When I was a little girl in Poland, we all had ponies. My sister had pony, my cousin had pony. So what's wrong with that?
No, see, we didn't have ponies. I'm sure at that time in Poland they were very common. They were probably like compact cars.
Funny thing to me about that episode was that I decided to put Elaine at a short table like a child.
Seriously, do you want to switch chairs?
No, I'm fine.
And I think that really added to the visual effect and made that dinner party a lot of fun.
If I wind up sitting next to Uncle Leo, I am leaving. He's always grabbing my arm when he talks to me. I guess it's because so many people have left in the middle of his conversation.
And it's always about Jeffrey, right?
Yeah, he talks about him like he split the atom. The kid works for the Parks Department.
Len Lesser was cast as Uncle Leo in the second season of the show.
I looked at the script. I walked in. I read the part, the pony remark, and I started laughing. I'm looking at the script and I was thinking, what are they laughing at? There's nothing funny in what I'm saying. And I repeated a couple of more lines, you know, and they laughed again. The entire time I'm thinking, what the hell are they laughing at? There's nothing funny here.
His take on the character, just sort of naturally who he was just so fantastic that it was so clear that he was the choice.
I finished, and they thanked me, and I thought that was the end of it, you know, because sometimes people laugh a lot, and they talk about this, and you don't get the job. That's most of the time. But I got that one.
You want to hear something? Your cousin Jeffrey is switching parks. They're transferring him to Riverside, so we'll completely revamp that operation. You understand?
Yeah.
He'll do in Riverside now what he did in Central Park. More money. So, that's your cousin.
Yeah, I love Seinfeld. Easy, one of the top 10 shows.